Being an audio engineer entails two things: versatility and quality. Like many of you out there, I'm sure I mainly work on rock and heavy music, but every now and then I'm throwing a session that's a little bit out of my comfort zone. It might seem daunting at first, but you might be surprised at just how easily you can apply these mixing techniques on your next session. Hello friends, it's Jerry with Black Salt Audio, and today we're gonna mix a lead pop vocal. Okay, so I have a session in front of me of a song called Forked Tongue by an artist named Georgie. That's Georgi, and let's just give it a listen. Cool, so the vocals for the song were recorded with the Slate ML1 modeling microphone, and normally in order for the modeling to work, you do need their virtual mix rack plugin and then select the actual microphone that you're trying to model after. But when we tracked the song, we picked the model that we liked, ran it through their version of the stressor, and then printed it down. Option paralysis is very much a real thing, and it can definitely hinder your creative process. Believe me, I've been there when it comes to like guitar amps and cabinets and IRs. It's a never-ending rabbit hole. So oftentimes with these modeling deals, I like to treat it like real hardware. I like to treat it like I'm in the studio and I'm actually working with real hardware, and then I just commit. It sort of forces you to kind of get it right at the source, and then it's one less thing you have to think about when you're mixing. So that's why you're not seeing any inserts on there right now, and I often do this with guitar amp sims too. Oh, I apologize. I had like strep throat at the beginning of the week, and I'm still trying to recover, so I'm hanging in there. So like with any good vocal, obviously we're going to do some EQ and compression, but here lies the important question. Should we EQ first and then compress, or should we compress first and then EQ? Now, there are no rules in audio. Do whatever it takes to get the track to sound good. But when it comes to vocals, typically you want to feed the EQ into the compressor. And the reason for that is you can get away with a lot of really crazy EQ moves, and then your compressor is actually going to smooth out those frequency bands after the fact. If you compress first and then EQ, it can kind of sound a little bit unnatural and disconnected, especially if you push that EQ pretty hard. The idea is to control the vocal and still have it sound very natural. When you do it the first way that I mentioned, you get a really cool symbiotic relationship between the EQ and compressor, where one can't really live without the other. It's like if you had two buff dudes lifting a weight together and evenly versus the two dudes trying to see who's the strongest, and then neither one of them can get the weight up. Okay, so I'm going to load up some SSL channel action and leave it alone for now. And then I'm going to load up the CLA76. This is my compressor of choice. This is really great for vocals, especially that bluey revision. I'm going to keep the ratio at 4:1, attack at 4, release at 7, and then I'm going to be pretty aggressive with that gain reduction. Typically, vocals need a lot of compression, and since this is a pop track, this is especially true.
Talk slow, like you mean it, or I'll blow this town to pieces. Say I need it, no I don't, but it quells the demons. These boys keep answering, but you're in this category. I see you in my dreams. You make them nightmares for me.
Cool, so that's already sounding pretty good. It's focusing up the vocal and bringing it up to your face. All right, let's jump back into the EQ. I'm going to filter around the 100, 125 hertz area. Then I'm going to boost a lot of 8K, add some bite at around 3 to 4K, and then I'm going to add some upper mids around the 1K area.
Talk slow, like you mean it, or I'll blow this town to pieces. Say I need it, no I don't, but it quells the demons. These boys keep answering, but you're in this category. I see
Awesome. And to kind of quickly wrap up the bulk of the lead vocals, I'm going to throw on a Deesser on there. Now, I've tried a bunch of others with varying success, but there's a plugin called Sibilance by Waves that just kind of works, and I really don't do anything to it.
Talk slow, like you mean it, or I'll blow this town to pieces. Town to pieces. Town to pieces. Town to pieces. Town to pieces.
I'd mess with the range if I have to, but I don't have to like hunt for the frequency like with other de-essers. It just kind of works. And honestly, those are my favorite types of plugins where I'm just like, okay, it works, and I can just move on to the next thing. And lastly, I'm going to throw a limiter on there to catch some of those really high peaks and smooth them out.
Like you mean it, or I'll blow this town to pieces. Say I need it, no I don't, but it quells the demons. These boys keep answering, but you're in this category. I see you in my dreams, you make them nightmares for me. With a four eyes and a forked tongue, you're a snake that's
Cool, so obviously we still need like reverb and delay and stuff to really finish off these vocals, but there are a couple of other things that we can do to add the final touches. It is now time to add some salt. We've managed to brighten up this vocal quite a bit, but I still think we need a little bit of air, and this is where Oxygen comes into play. Oxygen is a great and simple solution to breathe life into your mix. Basically, under the hood, you have a smooth crossover frequency, and the bite, presence, and air options are their respective cutoff values. Then all you have to do is turn on the big knob, and you have instant clarity.
oh, like you mean it, or I'll blow this town to pieces. Say I need it, no I don't, but it quells the demons. These boys keep answering, but you're in this category. I see you in my dreams, you make them nightmares for me.
We're already adding bite and presence with our EQ, so I'm going to stick with air. A couple of other cool features of Oxygen is this control knob, which is a compressor that'll affect how the extra high end that we're adding is going to behave, and above that are the two different compressor modes. Punch adds a lot of weight and attack, and smooth gives an overall soft and dynamic response. For those of you wondering, this is why I put Oxygen after the compressor. On the right is a saturation knob that when turned up will add some tape saturation that will make your high end sound warmer, especially if you're pushing it. And finally, on the bottom right is the width control, which is bypassed right now because I currently have this on a mono track. But when used on a stereo track, this will give you some really great natural stereo widening. Great for things like cymbals or a background vocal bus.
Blow, like you mean it, or I'll blow this town to pieces. To pieces. To pieces. Say I need it, no I don't, but it quells the demons. These boys keep answering, but you're in this category. I see you in my dreams, you make them nightmares for me. With a four eyes, these boys keep answering, but you're in this category. I see you in my dreams, you make them nightmares for me. These boys keep answering, but you're in this category. I see you.
The last thing I'm going to do is add some parallel saturation before I turn on all of these time-based effects. Last week we talked about parallel compression, but parallel saturation can be really great for thickening a vocal like this one. We're going to use Escalator for this, and if this were like a punk vocal or like a screaming vocal or basically any vocal that with some sort of aggression, I'd probably just throw Escalator directly onto the track. But since this is a pop vocal, I want to try to retain as much of that performance as I can, and I'm going to be able to do that with parallel saturation. I'm going to set Escalator to 100% and then feed our vocal into it.
Talk slow, like you mean it, or I'll blow this town to pieces. Say I need it, no I don't, but it quells the demons. These boys keep answering, but you're in this category. I see you in my dreams. You make them nightmares for me.
I think I might be cooking the saturation on Oxygen a little much.
Talk slow, like you mean.
Now that I've heard Escalator in action with it.
Talk slow, like you mean it, or I'll blow this town to pieces. Say I need it, no I don't, but it quells the demons.
And finally, I don't want to turn this into a lesson about time-based effects because really that kind of deserves its own video. But as you can see, I have all of these other buses that I'm using in parallel, just like our saturation bus. I have a vocal whitener bus, short reverb, long reverb, slapback delay, and a long 1/4 inch delay. I'm going to go ahead and activate these buses and kind of show off what they're doing.
Talk slow, like you mean it, or I'll blow this town to pieces. Say I need it, no I don't, but it quells the demons. These boys keep answering, but you're in this category. I see you in my dreams. You make them nightmares for me. With a full rise and a forked tongue, your snake that's a party. You fell in love with your full rise and a forked tongue, your snake, and that's just what you turn me into. Talk slow, like you mean it, or I'll blow this town to pieces. Say I need it, no I don't, but it quells the demons. Talk slow, like you mean it, or I'll blow this town to pieces. Say I need it, no I don't, but it quells the demons. These boys keep answering, but you're in this category. I see you in my dreams. You make them nightmares for me.
Awesome. Let's close out by listening to how Oxygen and Escalator have really improved our vocal.
Talk slow, like you mean it, or I'll blow this town to pieces. Say I need it, no I don't, but it quells the demons. These boys keep answering, but you're in this category. I see you in my dreams. You make them nightmares for me. With a full rise and a forked tongue, your snake that's a party. You fell in love with your full rise and a forked tongue, your snake, and that's just what you turned me into.
Thank you so much for taking the time to check out this video. Do you guys like the parallel saturation trick that we did in this video, or would you rather just throw on a saturation plugin directly onto the track? Also, what did you think about this tutorial? We wanted to try something a little bit different outside of the scope of our typical rock and metal mixes, so let us know if you liked it or not. If you liked what you heard in this tutorial, there are links in the description where you can get yourself a 14-day free trial of both Escalator and Oxygen. Also, be sure to sign up for our mailing list because we like to give out discount codes there every now and then. We have new videos here every week, so why not consider subscribing and leaving a like while you're at it. And if there are other mixing tutorials that you'd like us to tackle in the future, be sure to comment down below and let us know what you'd like to see next. Until then, I've been Jerry, and I'll catch you in the next video. See ya!